Okay, well, I'm Aubrey McKenzie Jones. I work in government, fun stuff. But I work with families and have children with disabilities. I have kiddos with special needs, young adults, and really anybody that has any kind of barrier, but specifically individuals with disabilities. I run around Texas helping them all in the very best way that I can. And I absolutely do very much enjoy it because I know how important it is to get those resources and have someone that you can actually contact and depend on them to give you honest feedback and help. I have, of course, my son, who is now my little angel. He would have been 16 years old this past November. My walk in life now is to not only leave a legacy for me, but a legacy for him. And that keeps me going every day. I also have a 19-year-old daughter who is another reason for my gray hairs. She graduated last year, but his name was Aubrey Emmanuel Markel Jones. So his name was my name, but it had DE in front. And actually, I had him when I was only 23 weeks pregnant. And that's where everything started. He was just incredibly early. I believe they coined it a micro preemie is what I hear most times these days. But he was 12 ounces and he suffered from lack of oxygen. And it just caused a myriad of different diagnoses that he had. And we were in the hospital for roughly about 10 months when he was born. And they sent him home on hospice, said that he would have a seizure in 6 weeks, within 6 weeks, and that seizure would cause his death. But it didn't. He definitely had epilepsy. He had seizures every day, but he was able to stick around. He stuck around for almost 15 years. So it was an incredible ride. It was an amazing learning opportunity. It was an amazing space of wisdom. I think that those characteristics, we become them. And he gave me so many characteristics that I became. So I don't think that they're labels that I can attach to myself, because going through that journey for all those years, living in the hospital for months and months, it was your second home, and the ups and downs of everything. He had, believe it or not, he actually had meningitis 3 times and survived it every time. And the doctors were always so surprised. And when he had his last brain surgery, because he had a few brain surgeries to try and connect the pockets of fluid in his head, because that was one of his main diagnoses, was hydrocephalus. And he had over, I think, 18 fluid pockets. And they were able to connect most of them. But even at the time, that was just to help alleviate some of the pressure so it wouldn't be so hard on him. And I could just imagine the kind of pain that it was. But I think my heart wants me to believe that maybe he didn't suffer so much, but I know mentally, I know that he did. But then after that surgery, his physician told me that, well, his surgeon, excuse me, his name was actually Dr. Swift. I still respect him to this day because he was one of the most honest physicians that we ever had. He said, I don't know what you believe in, but I can tell you right now, from a physician's stance, that your son should not be here today. And I won't operate on him anymore because I know that that was the best I could do and there's nothing else that we can do. And, of course, they give you that careful prognosis, if you will, because sometimes physicians tend to not say too much because they don't want to incriminate themselves, if you will. But they did see a bright outlook. And at that time, my son was probably 4 years old. And this was the last of one of his most major surgeries, because he had most of them as he was a baby and all that. And my son was like, okay, y'all can say whatever you want. This is me imagining his voice. You can say whatever you want, but I'm here. And he kept sticking around. It wasn't easy. He really didn't have an immune system. Having that child and knowing that, oh my God, they're going to be sick, but not knowing exactly what that means. When the doctors say, well, maybe you should consider Braille, or maybe you should consider, learning these different things. I'm like, what do you mean? Because even when they're little, you expect them to grow and everything's okay. And then once you realize, and at the time, I didn't even know that this was even a thing. I didn't realize it until I matured a lot more in my own understanding. You grieve way before you lose your kiddo, because you realize that things are not going to be picturesque. It's not going to go like that. And you're going to have to get it together and figure it out. And it took me years to figure it out. But in those years, I was willing to figure it out. I wanted to figure it out because I wanted to protect him the best that I could. And I did not get it right every day. I did not. I don't think any of us get it right as parents every day. So, and I'm still learning to give myself grace with the process, because even after the fact, and when our kids transition, even if they transition into young adults like my daughter, I'm like, okay, Aubrey, you still have to give yourself grace with this thing called motherhood and being a parent. Because I think we still continue to learn every day, even after the fact, because I still take my time to process a lot of things with my son, and how to advocate for other people, how to be a backbone for other people when they are so limp, honestly, because you don't know what to do. You don't even realize how you're walking, but you're just moving some kind of way.